Hello, Kioku here, and this is Fox, the five-tailed kitsune. He is very wise, obviously, given he has five tails. He has more than I do actually with my four. He it clearly is better magically than I am. He just likes staying in this little form to conserve magic and energy and use it wisely. So he is joining us today in this video, and I have some cool things to show from Arizona FurCon, which I'll hopefully do a bit later. But for the time I'm gonna do a video I wanted to do beforehand and just kind of taking it a little bit easy. And this is kind of talking about some furry games that you can play. And it's a mix of things that I have played and things that I've just kind of found or been suggested. But I'm going to talk a little about some of them. I'm not going to mention any, like, really obvious, well-known ones like Animal Crossing or stuff like that, unless I have something to specifically say about it. But yeah, so let's get into this. So first off, I'm going to show you one you may or may not have seen. So this is Armello, and this I've played a good bit with friends, and it's essentially a digital board game that's versus, and it does make use of the fact that it is on a digital format with like tile changes over time and stuff like that. That is easier to kind of track when you are playing it as a video game. Also, the art is really pretty, and there's just kind of lots of cool characters of different playstyles and sort of multiple possible objections that you can go for. So there's kind of more than one way to try to beat the game, and a couple of the ways are combat based, and a few of them is more like collecting certain items and trying to bring them to the castle first. And then there's also sort of prestige if you think you can ensure that no one else completes what they're trying. So yeah, it's kind of a cool game. You kind of have to pay attention to what others are, likely planning, and yeah, it's interesting. There's some DLC, and most of them are just packs of characters with new clans. So if you get one, you can play with friends in private games and let them use it, I believe, but in public games it doesn't share them. If you get just one of the extra packs, I think it's the rival. There's one with like a seer rat that my friend really enjoyed. Sargana is the character I'm thinking of. He's pretty cool. Let's see, it's not this one. Bandit Clan, I think. Nope. But there's a cool fox here. These kind of have sort of unusual playstyles, these four. Here we go. So Usurpers is the one that has Sargon. which one of my friends really enjoys because he kind of gets to like peek at the deck and have sort of a bigger choice when selecting. Because you get to pick which cards you're gonna pull. I mean, which decks you're gonna pull cards from that turn. So he kind of has those sort of options, which can help him be adaptable. And a lot of cases, he has one of the easier times going for a certain victory that's called the Rot Victory. It's one of the combat-based ones that's slightly riskier if you don't go like full force with it. And yeah, so if you like strategy board games with sort of like red wall medieval style and you know, pretty art, like during the combats you can watch each other so you can see some of that art here, then yeah, I'd suggest checking it out. So this is one that's pretty interesting and a little different, called Aviary Attorney. And this is sort of a detective game, but with a little bit of an atypical history-inspired kind of story to it. It's during the, like around the French Revolution. And I've played it. I thought it was really cool. My friends, who's even not normally a furry, enjoyed it a lot. And these illustrations were actually kind of old illustrations in public domain that kind of were like that, and then this group sort of took them and like put a story to them. And it's just kind of a very whimsical style. It looks a lot different from kind of other things that you tend to see. I was trying to see if they had more pictures below, but not really. So yeah, you can see it's almost looks like sort of like stencils or like lithographs and stuff. And they obviously put them together into different scenes and different things, but yeah, it's from like an old set of artwork. I was trying to see also if it mentioned the artist's name, because I forgot. I read more about it like a while ago. Yeah, the 19th century characterist J.J. Granville is the person who made kind of like all the lithographs and stuff that are used here. Just a really interesting, kind of neat story. There is more than one ending, though. You can kind of look into what would happen. It's not necessarily, I think, the largest changes once you get sort of like the true ending, which, you know, up to you how many different ones you want to try. But I think I got like a bad ending, and then I went and like made sure I got the true ending, and kind of stopped there personally, and just sort of looked up what the others were. So I think that was kind of the big ones, but you know, up to you. I enjoyed it. Probably going on for too long. So this is a weird one to include because it's only sort of something I'd consider a furry game, but it's very cute and I wanted to bring it up. So this is Baba's You, and you're playing like this cute little rabbit character, and it's sort of an atypical puzzle where its big thing is there's like word blocks you can move around, and you start out playing as Baba. Some things are reachable and some things aren't, and you always have to have Baba is something, or else you'll kind of not be able to move or not exist, sort of. But you can switch, or no, actually not Baba something. You always have to have something is you, or else you just won't be able to move around. And you can go back to undo steps you took, but essentially, like, you can move around these words to change what different things are and what behaviors they have. So, like, you can see here, rock is push and wall is stop. And obviously not in this, but if you're able to switch that, you could make it wall is push and rock is stop, or something like that. Or you could make it rock is you, and suddenly you're controlling all of the rocks. Or instead of flag is win, like rock is win, and then touching the rock would make you win, or different things like that. So you just kind of can change around the behaviors of how everything in the world interacts, and it kind of plays with that in different interesting ways. So it just, if you want to be a cute little critter and have fun with some word puzzles, then this might be a game for you. It's a very clever puzzle. So this is Banners of Ruin. This is a card-based dungeon roguelike. It's a deck builder. And it's not like the biggest known one, but I've enjoyed it a lot from what I've played. I think it was a lot of fun. They have different classes, as you could kind of expect, and sort of different playstyles that you can build for. And you have different characters that you can move around on sort of different rows, and they have kind of specialty cards that they can use. And I don't know, I was really enjoying it. And the enemies also have lanes that you can affect, like how you're attacking, or different attacks will affect different ranges of people. And you see here there's like a trap that this guy can get pushed back into. And I don't know, as you go also, you're given kind of choices of what you're going to do. It's not just like battle after battle. And you essentially get like 3 lanes to choose between. And some of them stick around for a certain number of turns unless you do something that makes it go away. So there's like a little bit of a game to even like choosing the path you're gonna take. And I don't know, I had a lot of fun with it. It's somewhat early. Like they're still changing some things. Though it's been a little bit since I've played, so maybe they've added, they may have added a good bit since last I played, because I have been there for several somewhat biggish updates, but then haven't checked it out in quite a while. But last I played, even though it wasn't perfect and there was things that definitely needed fixing, it was a lot of fun for me personally. And on the forums for it, they were also fairly active in responding if you kind of pointed out anything that wasn't currently working well, so that was good. The art's also very pretty, and you get, again, kind of medieval looking animals. And yeah. This next one is also something that's not complete. It's just currently a demo, but it's in the works. There's a Kickstarter, and it's finished. I mean, the Kickstarter's finished, and they've been making a lot of progress. I'm on their Discord. But this is just a very cute little spooky mystery adventure game, sort of, where you gather kind of like words that are responses to things people ask you. And then at any point where you have to make a decision, you can use ones you've found so far to pick that. And then later, through like going back for it, you can kind of go back to those decision points and then like see how newer things you find change the course of events, like based on what you learned later. And the demo is a lot of fun. The art is adorable. and it's definitely kind of like lightly creepy, but in a very cute setting. It's not like super dark horror. It's a little bit dark, basically. And I don't know how much more I can say than that. Or, I mean, yeah, I guess it's like fairly a scary theme, but it's not. There's no like jump scares or like extreme gore or anything like that. That's what I mean by not like super dark horror. And yeah, you're, a kid in a small town, kind of living with your grandma after your, I think mom went missing at some point, and you and your friends and like the new person in town, kind of trying to figure out something going on that seems unusual. It's that kind of game. It's really pretty neat so far. Like the art. Suggest you checking it out or trying the demo, or if not, maybe talking on the Discord and just sort of keeping up with what's going on, if it seems of interest to you. So this is a game from a company, Experiment 101, that's under THQ Nordic, which is actually the publisher for the game studio that I work at. This isn't the studio I work at. It's just the same publisher. There's a lot of people under THQ Nordic currently. So this is one I was kind of looking at for a while. I haven't played it myself yet, but I'm interested in it. So it's Biomutant, which they have like these really cool sort of alien creatures. I think you can like customize them, and I think there's a lot of focus on sort of exploring and like building equipment and stuff with what you find. And it seemed pretty cool in that sense. Like, you can build up things from like all these different parts and stuff you kind of run into. And have like monster fights as this tiny little mutant creature. So yeah, it's something I definitely intend to check out eventually. And I really liked the kind of the main alien design. So this is another one that I haven't played myself, but intend to play with some friends if I have a chance. But someone at work who's not a furry actually suggested it to me, and it's supposed to be like co-op Binding of Isaac, essentially. So it's a twin stick shooter, and apparently it's kind of interesting. Like, you have to I'm trying to remember how to explain the mechanic, but I believe it has to do with like you actually have to sort of pick abilities to kind of sacrifice having over time, in almost like a counter to standard roguelike, but it's not exactly that. But the mechanics are kind of interesting, or it's more like, it's kind of a little bit like a deconstructed dungeon crawler from reviews of it I've read before. trying to remember how to best explain. Okay, I guess it's like there's artifacts that give you sort of temporary gain, but then have like negative effects down the road, and you sort of have to pick if they're worth it, I guess. Like, skimming this, that might have been what it was. I'm not finding obvious explanation of it again, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that's kind of what it was. But yep, you're a duck and a platypus. It's kind of cute, simple art, and from what I've heard, at least from my coworker who was playing through it with his daughter, it's a really good time. This one you probably know, it's an old classic, so I'm not going to say too much. There's also a free version of it that you can find. There has been for a long time, but Cave Story is just kind of a very fun, sort of, it's like somewhat just an action adventure in general. But there's like a lot of cool things to explore and find, and the story is really interesting, and it kind of just has like a very neat feel to it in a similar way that Earthbound and Undertale and those sort of games did. And while the player characters aren't exactly animals, there are a lot of very cute furry characters in it. Trying to find if there's a good picture here. Oh, there's one, but it's not it wasn't showing some of my favorite characters, so that's okay. I'll just let you play that, and I know I didn't say too much, but it is a really fun classic. It's a really cute story, and just sort of an interesting world to be in. Same way as those other kind of stories I mentioned. So this is another detective game. This one is specifically film noir, and it goes for more of a weird mix of like photo animals and like photorealism. And this very much is the human with an animal head sort of approach, except in dialogue, where it makes the fact that they're animals kind of matter. It very much falls heavily into all the like noir detective tropes, the good and the bad, and it's purposely doing that, clearly. And some of it like gets away, or even like points out or makes them sort of obvious, like through the, or even just like kind of make a statement on them, like through the use of the kind of animal imagery. So yeah, I haven't finished it, but from what I've played so far, I think it's kind of interesting. The main characters definitely aren't good people, and that's pretty obvious somewhat quickly, so maybe you won't enjoy it for that, but it again is very much playing into like showing that this is how a lot of noir stories were and stuff like that. But yeah, up to you. It's a fairly typical one. There's a bit of a mini game of other than your standard talking and asking questions, there's this thing where you're sort of like pressing someone in like an interview, and you have to sort of balance, like, gaining their trust and, like, pressing them too hard, but not, like, going so light that you're not getting where you want to, kind of thing. And that's sort of like the little mini game gimmick. And yeah. That's Chicken Police. I actually have one more detective game further down, but you know what, I'll just mention it now so we can get those out of the way. So this one I haven't played myself, but this one specifically is based off of... I'm interested in playing because it's specifically based off of a highly recommended furry Noir Detective comic that's been around for a while. So it's kind of cool. The comic's supposed to be really well written. I don't know so much of the game, though at least some reviews are saying if you like the comic, you'll probably like this. So, yeah. It's probably worth checking out. It's 3D modeled. The comic itself was, 2D drawings, so a different look, but so it goes. This next one is one I just can't recommend enough, though it's not necessarily for everyone, but let me explain. So, this is a game called Chicory, and it's really about kind of artistic struggle, but also struggling with, like, purpose in general and falling through on any sort of goal and, like, the societal expectations around them and stuff like that. But it's just this really adorable story with, like, a bunch of different animals in different towns, and you sort of... It's all coloring book style, and you kind of get to, like, redraw the color into the world, but you gain abilities as you go along, almost similar to kind of what Okami does, in a sense, where you can traverse and explore more things than you could earlier. So, like, you get the ability to, like, swim in paint to get through, like, small cracks, or the ability to, like, climb up walls, or different things like that. And I think it made going back to find missing things a lot more fun than it has been in other games like this. But I found it really just sweet and caring and kind of almost therapeutic, and have a lot of friends who sort of struggle with some of the things that the main characters in this do struggle with. So I ended up actually buying this for a lot of people. It's just a very cute game, and I think it has the potential to help a lot of people. The reason I say it's not for everyone is it's not really hard or punishing, and it's not really trying to be. So that might ruin it for you, maybe. But I don't know, I found it just always interesting, essentially. I always kind of wanted to see what things would say or what would happen next, and I never found it kind of not interesting to keep going. So, yeah. And this is Chicory. This character is, I think, unofficially, well, I mean, the default name for them is Pizza, but it's the character that you name, and they ask you to name it your favorite food. Everyone in the world has a food name. For me, the character was Lychee. For my friend Drew, it was Paella. But yeah, it's very sweet. And this character is more or less like someone who isn't a professional artist, but super looked up to Chicory, kind of trying to feel that they deserve to make art for people. And then Chicory's struggle is more about kind of feeling both more that they're more than the artist that, like, everyone expects them to be, and that they don't kind of always need this pressure of, like, making things perfect for everyone else, or sort of continuously making things for others' sake. But anyway, I'm not, or to, like, kind of always be improving what they're doing or making everything perfect. And then there's another character who sort of shows us the best way to teach people and kind of how direct you should be with things. But you know, it's interesting. I enjoy it a lot. It was a very sweet game. So this is that one big game I said I was going to mention because I had something to say on it. I'm sure you're all very familiar with Undertale. If you're not, honestly, I really suggest checking it out. I know for some people who haven't played it yet, they might feel like the internet ruined it for them, but it's one of those things where if you haven't actually played it, it's hard to know if you'd really like it, because, well, a lot of things described involving Undertale just doesn't sound necessarily as appealing as it is when you're playing it. Just everything comes together in that game to feel so good, and I don't know, the world itself feels so immersive. It feels like a nice, to me, like it feels like such a good environment to be in. Similar to Earthbound, like the characters are kind of very sort of, it's almost like the game itself is somewhat caring towards the character, which sort of was a thing of that, but really it's kind of weird and interesting. And Undertale honestly was the spiritual successor to Earthbound. Like, that was kind of a big part of it, and the creator was a big Earthbound fan, and you'll see just a lot of inspiration from that in it. So if you like those sort of games, I honestly suggest giving it a chance, because it really is a good game. But aside from that, if you have or haven't played Undertale but haven't played Deltarune, the reason I wanted to mention it is because the second chapter is out for now, and the first two chapters are free in the demo. And I wanted to mention this because there wasn't any huge announcement that the demo now had 2 chapters instead of 1. There wasn't, I guess it says it now here in the description, but there wasn't anything like super obvious showing that there was a big change recently. And if anyone happened to not know, the second chapter is out now on Deltarune, which is related to Undertale, but in a different world. It's distinctly not affecting the world from your Undertale game. And yeah, the story's coming along. There's still a lot we don't know or understand, and that's part of the point. And it's been very intriguing so far. I've still enjoyed it a lot. So that was just the note. If you didn't know the second chapter is out, might be a good time to check it out. And further chapters, I think he said, are gonna stop being free, but he took like 5 years, I think, making just the second chapter, so he's been putting a lot of work into it. So it's pretty cool that we have these two fully out for free now. This is a game I haven't directly played, but I've had a few different friends suggest it for me. and this is a kind of platformer exploration game about a dragon in just hand-drawn art styles like this, where it all looks like crayon and colored pencil and stuff like that. And apparently it's just very creative and well done. So if you want an extra cute story about a dragon and, you know, like traditional art and stuff, might be worth checking out. This is a fairly new one. If you've heard of the game Gang Beast, it's similar. It's kind of a fighting game with cats, and it's a little bit ragdollish, and you also, it seems like there might also be some like sandbox or cat raising kind of, or cat caring for sort of elements, so some chill elements and some sort of fighting elements. And the trailer for it's really funny. I suggest giving it a watch when you get a chance, but just very cute cats getting into very cat-looking mischief, more or less. Not gonna show you the full trailer, obviously, but just kind of showing what I mean with the sort of Gang Beast style fighting for a couple seconds. Oh, actually, I could have just used this to show you. But yeah. Apparently it's really cute, the cats can play with things, and it's just very silly, light sort of combat and mischief, mayhem. So you want cute cats? Maybe check that out. This is another thing that's coming out later that I wanted to point out. This is a sort of visual novel called Goodbye Volcano High from a company called Co-op, who've made a few games in the past. One of them was a VR puzzle game, and so sort of a big change from what they've made in the past, but I thought it was pretty cool when I saw that they were doing this. And it's sort of a fantasy world about you know, dinosaurs in a, you know, like a modernized society, but still kind of right before the time of the end of the dinosaurs, and sort of working with like what friendship and relationships and everything means in that sort of situation where, you know, a lot of change is going to happen and stuff like that. I might not be explaining this right, but that's, I'm not sure if it's the actual end of like all the dinosaurs or if they're more like knowing their ways going out of style, or if it's more like there's a volcano in the area or something. But as it describes here, it's about sort of growth and the power of community and what you'll do at the end of an era. So it's all that kind of theme of things that were, you know, stuck behind, like the way of the dinosaurs. And I dropped something. I knocked something over. My chair is kind of broken. Fixed it. The art looks cool too. And I haven't seen really many furry stories with a focus like this. So, could be neat. This one I don't know a whole lot about. This is just a roguelike called Kellopot with some elements that look like they might be vaguely bullet hell-like, but in a platformer sort of way. And yeah, I think the character art was pretty. Can't say too much. This one I've played through fully. It is adorable. This isn't exactly a mystery game. It's a kind of a point and click adventure with a whole bunch of mini games, I'd say. I mean, I guess it's sort of a mystery, but it's not the same type of mystery solving as the other ones. And this is just very cute. It's a light story, but it's like extremely cute sort of story. And the main thing is just learning about this sort of one character's family, more or less, and what's going on there, and getting to know him and the others. And to give you information, you have to play mini games with a bunch of them, and there's just a lot of like silly dialogue and things to interact with, and the music is kind of surprisingly good. It's very sort of jazzy, and really art and music and good feels are sort of the focus of this one, I'd say. As this person says, it has somewhat of a similar humor to Undertale. And yeah. This I haven't played, but I'm just showing you because it's utterly adorable. And it's free. I have it in my library. I should give it a shot. But this, it's just a very cute platformer story about a fox trying to bring water to a beached whale. And if that's not, like, heart-wrenchingly adorable to begin with, then I don't know what to say. That's all I really wanted to say with this. I mean, look at that fox. It's a good boy. I forgot I had this on here too. Actually, a different murder case, but I haven't played it. I don't know much about it, but damn, that art is gorgeous. This is called Roman's Christmas. You can see a little bits of character art more here. I believe the story is, I mean, as you can see, obviously the story is translated, so it wasn't in English first. So if any of that is imperfect, I'm not sure. But in general, it got an overall good reaction. There was a different sort of visual novel I saw that was originally in Chinese that was about furries helping clients through like depression and mental illness, and that was cool, and I considered including that one. And then someone was saying there was like enough issues with the translation that they didn't think it was worth it, so I took that one off. But I think this one seemed like it was okay, so yeah, maybe give it a shot. This is, Root is sort of a classic board game, and this is the video game adaptation of it. It's, somewhat Euro style, I think, but has, like warfare elements. It's another one of those that I need to play. I actually like a lot of board games, and I know this one has been around for a while, but I still never played it in either form. I've heard a lot of very good things about it, and as you can see, the animal characters are adorable. So if you're a strategy board game fan, definitely would check it out. It is similar to Armello. It is combat. It's not a co-op game, so I don't know if you know what your friend group likes, but you know, maybe you guys would enjoy it. And you can play alone. You don't need to play with someone else, I'm pretty certain. At least for the digital version. Well, actually, this says 2 to 4. I thought they made a one-person version for the single player, so now I'm not certain. You might need to play with a friend. Possibly look into further if there is a one-person campaign. With the physical game, yeah, you would need to, but I thought they maybe made a route, but I guess I'm wrong. So this is a bullet hell game that's also, well, it's a rail shooter, but it has kind of, well, ish elements, but no, it's more of a rail shooter. And it's also from THQ Nordic, so another of those games that's by the same publisher. I've played a bit of it. It's very kind of tricky, but it is a furry game, though you only see the characters when there is character dialogue. And mostly it is kind of a rail shooter, like similar to Star Fox or such. Like big mech enemies. I was trying to see if it showed any of the animals, because they're interesting. So you can kind of see some fairly cool animal character designs. This is a free one too that I still need to play, but I just found it recently and it looked kind of hilarious. It's one of those very silly kind of button mashy adventures where you pretty much keep playing just to see where it would lead you, and it's apparently just all like super ridiculous. So this is Space Bear. It's not super long, but it's free and apparently just worth a play for the laughs. This might only be on Switch. Let me see if it's also on Steam. It is. Okay. At least. There you go. This I played on Switch. I eventually stopped, but played a good bit of it. It is. I'm normally not a sandbox game person, which is why I eventually stopped, but I enjoyed it for longer than expected. But it is this like super gorgeous game where you're sort of going around and helping these spirits that sort of in the afterlife kind of took on an animal representation of themselves as their form, and they kind of have things they need to work through. So in the meantime, you set up this boat for them to like live on with you, and set up things to kind of make it enjoyable for them and to grow food and different things to kind of like keep their spirits up for the time and kind of work through stories and problems and travel around to different places looking for more things. And over time, different spirits that you work with will eventually sort of move on and you'll have to say goodbye to them. But it's like a really somber, sort of sweet story. And with like a really calm atmosphere, and if you are able to enjoy sandbox games sometimes, then even though this isn't fully sandbox, it does have like a story you're trying to get through and things you're trying to help. It is one of those slow-paced sort of building up a houseboat kind of things that's like very similar to Animal Crossing style sandbox games, but in the framework of a story and exploration, essentially. So if you like those sort of games, this is a cool one. If you don't, then maybe it won't be for you, but maybe it might be worth trying. It has almost like a Ghibli-ish feel to it at times, and it's just very kind of like calm and mysterious and somewhat sad, but also somewhat feel good, and it's one of those games that could kind of be described as a healing game in some sense. And the animals are fluffy and adorable. Well, one is a really cute frog, but quite a few of them are fluffy. Like, there's a big puffy deer. And most of the animals like hugs. So, that's good. If you're a person who enjoys hugs, might make you happy. This one you might know of. This is called Them's Fighting Herds, and it is a fighting game with exclusively four-legged ungulated characters. And what's pretty cool is this was originally a team of fans that was making a My Little Pony game, and Hasbro gave them a cease and desist, even though a lot of the animators and writers in My Little Pony actually really liked the work that they were doing. So Lauren Fasta ended up reaching out to them and was like, well, I can't do anything about the cease and desist. If you want, I can help you come up with some new characters and story. So she actually did the character design and the lore for this, and she came up with some really cool lore, some of which is slightly darker than some of what you see in My Little Pony, although My Little Pony goes into some dark themes just somewhat indirectly. But no, like here you do straight up have like a dark magic occultist unicorn and stuff like that. And yeah, it does go a little bit darker there, but yeah, they put a ton into the artwork and animation in this and the music, and it's just all like really beautifully done. And since it's kind of such an atypical thing to see like a quadruped fighting game, I'd suggest giving it a shot if you like fighting games at all. This is so this I need to show you elsewhere. But this is another game that's not out yet. It's still being made, and it's still in the post-Kickstarter phase. So this is Tangle Torn, and I'm showing you some of the art. And let me quickly go to the Kickstarter page. But this was an artist I met at a convention a while ago, and it seems fairly interesting to me. It is another card-based roguelike with, again, really beautiful art, and you have sort of like a main character and then a kind of like a daemon who affects things, and they have different sort of character classes again, and I don't know, it looks really cool and promising to me. And once again, just sort of the art style here is like a big part of the draw for me of this one. So it's another one to kind of maybe keep an eye on. I backed it, so I'll be checking it out when it comes out. And yeah. This is the soundtrack. I was hoping it would link to the actual game. It wasn't suggesting. Yeah, there we go. So this is a puzzle game, a little bit in the style of like Portal, somewhat, where you're like drawing triangles to try to kind of traverse in certain ways, and the background story is kind of like this mythical lore, both about sort of that perfect geometry, but also about like these sort of two fox spirits that at some point like lived in peace and played together and stuff. And you kind of learn more about what happened between them and stuff as things go on. Yeah, if you like foxes and puzzles, might be worth a check out. And then this last one, Widget Satchel, I haven't played yet, but it's like a super adorable looking kind of adventure puzzle, gadget building sort of game involving a ferret being very much a ferret and just kind of going through and messing around with things and just kind of looks very interesting and puzzly. And like super stylized with the sort of action I feel fits around with, you know, the animal fits well with the animal choice. So, yeah. It's another I intend to try out. That's cute, isn't it? Sorry if this wasn't a very good video. I'm still kind of figuring things out and just trying to make what I can. But I thought this was something I could do. Kind of get a list like this together and just suggest some things that would go along with my sort of animation suggestions from the previous ones. And I hope you maybe found a few things you might enjoy, at least, if nothing else. And Fox was happy to join us today. Hope to see you soon. Bye!